Hello and welcome to Trojan Talk. I'm your host, Aaron Taylor. My guest today is Heidi Beattie. She is here to talk about, well, the babies we see behind us and the story behind that. Heidi, thanks for joining us here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
And as I've pointed out, we have some beautiful babies floating around behind us on the screen.
Yes.
You're here to talk about their story and how it relates to the March of Dimes and the kickoff that's coming up here pretty soon. Tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So these are my children. They're twins. My son's named Riker and my daughter's named Layla. And they have a very interesting birth story. They were born at 24 weeks, which is 16 weeks premature, extremely premature. They were born at 1 pound 9 ounces and 1 pound 5 ounces, 12 inches and 12.5 inches. And we spent about 3 months in the NICU. So they are known as micropreemies when they are born that small. And it was quite the journey. As far as the NICU journey goes, there was a lot of ups and downs in regards to their health. Troy University was amazing to me during that time. I teach over in the psychology department, and I taught 3 days that semester and went into labor. I had all this planned out. I had my maternity leave planned out, and then we had other plans. And they were great letting me, take the time off that was needed. So we spent the next 3 months visiting the NICU daily, dealing with a number of health issues. A lot of it has to do, when they're born that early, is with lung development and making sure that their lungs get up to speed with where they're at, and that they're able to breathe on their own. So they started out on ventilators, moved to something called a CPAP, then regular oxygen, and then eventually were able to breathe on their own. But they also had to learn how to feed, and so we had to teach them how to bottle feed and all of that stuff that babies that are born at term are automatically able to do. It was a learning curve for us, so we spent the next 3 months at the NICU and working on those things before they're able to come home.
And you mentioned there the Troy University support system, but how important is a support system, especially for organizations out there like March of Dimes and things like that that give support to parents who have found themselves in a similar situation as yourselves?
Very important, very important. Me and my husband, we are originally from Nebraska, so all of our family was back there, and so the support that we got from the nurses at the hospital, but also through the March of Dimes, was super important. Just the information that we received from the March of Dimes helped us know what we could be expecting along the ways in regards to having children who were born preterm. We always say without the March of Dimes, our children probably wouldn't have had a chance to come home to us. So right away when I went into labor, I was given a steroid shot to help speed up the twins' lung development. That steroid shot was actually discovered through research done by the March of Dimes or funded by the March of Dimes. My daughter had to be on a more intense ventilator during her stay at the NICU, which is called an oscillator ventilator. That was also discovered through research funded by the March of Dimes. So if it wasn't through the March of Dimes, our story would not have had the happy ending that it ended up having.
And let's talk happy ending before we talk more. They're fine now, right?
Yes, they are 18 months old. That's actually a picture that was done just the other day of my son. They are running around, they are talking. My son is super rambunctious and crawling all over everything, and my daughter is super sweet and loving and likes to read, and they're doing amazing. Health-wise, doing great. We're not dealing with any issues there, and developmentally, they're meeting developmental milestones with what we call corrected age, which is the age that they were supposed to be born.
Yes.
So we have a very happy ending, and not a lot of families do in our circumstance, and so support from the March of Dimes is also fighting for those families to give them, the information that they need in order to handle what might happen after the NICU.
And that was something that I was unaware of is the research and the information there, that elements of your story helped through research from March of Dimes.
Yes.
And a lot of people, they hear about the donations, they hear about the drives, but they don't see it in action.
Yes.
And just today I've learned some things that I did not know the March of Dimes helps people out with.
Yes,
so.
Amazing work. We're very close to the director here and for the Central Alabama chapter, Ashley Gorham, and through her I've learned a lot as well. So you never think you're going to be in this situation as a parent. We certainly did not, but we were placed there, and we have a happy story, at the end of it. But again, that happy ending would not have been possible without the March of Dimes.
Well, let's talk about the kickoffs coming up pretty soon. We're
Yes.
running out of time, but let folk know about that.
Absolutely. The kickoff is actually in Montgomery.
Okay.
It's at the warehouse at Alley Station.
Okay.
It's going to be on March 14th. From 11:30 to 1, and that's where you can register your team for our big walk, which will be on June 1st in Montgomery. I know that's spring break for a lot of our students, and they might be doing other things, but you can still sign up for a team going to the Central Alabama chapter for March of Dimes. If you want to go to that kickoff, all you got to do is RSVP by March 8th to Ashley Gorham, and her email is Gorham, Gorum, at marchofdimes.org.
All right. Well, here sounds like an opportunity to folks to help out March of Dimes and hear a good story, happy ending story
Yes.
about how March of Dimes helps out. Thanks for joining us here today.
Thank you so much, Aaron.
And thank you for joining us on today's edition of Trojan Talk.